Hello, Glenn here from Digital Photography Courses, and welcome to this second video in the series of the Lightroom Masterclass 50 Things You Probably Didn't Know About Lightroom. In part one, we were looking at your importing and your DNGs and your file conversion, and now we're starting to look at synchronizing folders and the library module. So we're going to zip through this quite quickly because you've already gone through the training, and this really is more of an aid memoir just to kind of help you afterwards. So what we need to do is occasionally, if you make changes to a folder outside of Lightroom, so maybe you were to edit a picture in Photoshop or another program, then because you did that outside of Lightroom, Lightroom won't know about those changes. So if you did a save as or something like that, that file would not appear in Lightroom because you did the changes outside of Lightroom. So what you might need to do is you might occasionally need to synchronize a folder. So if you're looking down here and you think, well, I'm sure I had an extra picture, but I can't find it, then what we need to do is synchronize the folder. So to do that, we come over to the left hand side to your folder panel, and we're going to right click and we're going to say synchronize folder. This will come up here and it actually says here import two new photos. So we'll click on synchronize and these two images appear. And so now these are obviously the new images, and if we click back on the folder, then we'll see those two new images actually appearing in the folder. So that's basically how to synchronize folders if you're found missing files. So a couple of other little pieces that we can do through here. Obviously, the next thing we'd start doing is going through our images and maybe culling them and getting rid of pictures that we don't need. So if there's a picture we didn't want, then and so I've got a couple here. There's one that says delete me, and I've got one down here that says remove me. So I just want to show you the difference between those. So if I go to this one here that says delete me, and we press delete, then you'll see that I have the option to delete or remove. And if I say delete from disk, then that image will be deleted from the computer and it will go to the recycle bin. If I say remove, then it will just be taken away from the Lightroom catalog, but it will still be there in that folder. If I just cancel out a second then, so if we come down to this one here, I've got one that says remove me. Again, I can just press delete, and obviously if I say remove, so what I'll do is I'll remove this one and I'll go to this one and I will delete. So I'm pressing delete key, but this time I'm pressing delete, and you can see they've both gone out of the display. They're no longer in the display. But if I go back and synchronize the catalog again, so right click, synchronize folder, and it says here import one photo. So if we click on synchronize, and there's the image that we removed, and you notice that the one that we deleted hasn't come back in because of course that isn't in that folder any longer. Okay, so that's the difference between delete and remove. So while we're here then, let's have a quick whiz around the library module. And one of the issues, particularly if you've got a small computer, is you can start running out of real estate. Now, what we can do to give us some more space is we can start hiding these panels. So you'll notice if you go to the edge of a panel in the center, you'll get a little triangle light up. If you click that triangle, then that panel will collapse. And if we come over here and come to the right, you see we can collapse those panels. And likewise, if you come back in again, you can bring them back. There we go. But there's actually a much easier way to do that, and that is using the function keys. So if you use the function keys F5, it will lose the top panel, F6 will lose the bottom panel, F7 will lose the left, and F8 will lose the right. And then the same sort of toggle will bring them all back again. So you can do it that way. But there's actually a quicker and easy way to do that, and that is using the tab key. If you use the tab key, then that will hide the left and right panels. Bring the tab key again, bring it back. If you press Shift Tab, then it will lose all the panels really quickly. And I have to say, that is one of the quickest and easiest ones. They're the ones I tend to use all the time. Now, there are other options that you might not be aware of, and that is if you come to these actual triangles and right click, you have these options here to auto hide and show, auto hide, manual, and sync with opposite panel. So if I choose sync with opposite panel and you close one panel, then you notice the panel the other side closes as well. So you can kind of go with those, whichever one you prefer. I just tend to leave mine on auto hide and show, and you can have it on manual where you have to actually close them down manually if you want to. So have a play with those and maybe see which one you like the best. So having a little wander around, what you may or may not see, and this sometimes disappears, is down here we have the toolbar. Now in the toolbar, you've got certain options, but you can actually add to these options. And if you come over, if you click on this little triangle, tiny in the corner here, you can go and click on these other options, and you've got yourself some extra bits and pieces that you can play around with. So you can color label and such like. Now, occasionally this bar will disappear. You lose it and you think, where's that gone? The way to bring it back is with the letter T. So T, and then you press it again. The letter T will bring them back for you. If we are in something like the develop module, so if I just click on a picture, and sometimes we're in the develop module. So to get to the develop module, of course, you can either press on the word develop, or you can press the letter D on your keyboard, and that will go to the develop module. Now, sometimes when you're trying to make a fine adjustment, it can be quite tricky just to do that fine adjustment. So a little thing you can do is you can actually stretch these panels out. If you go and wait for the double arrow, you can stretch them wider, and because they're wider, then you have a little bit more finesse, particularly on something like saturation sort of thing, where you can go over the top really quite quickly. Another little tip is if you hover over one of these sliders on the nodule, and you can use the up and down arrow keys to move it up in small increments. Okay, so that's quite a nice little one. And of course, if you double click on the word exposure or contrast, or whatever word, it will zero off that slider. So again, that's quite useful stuff. If you want to look at your images larger, obviously you could do that shift tab that I mentioned, or simply press F for full screen. Okay, so pressing F for full screen will go full screen and back. If we move over to back to the library module and we look at your folders, now you can see I've actually already filtered a folder here. If I just go and take the filters off, then you can see all of my files and etc. But obviously sometimes that gets a little bit unwieldy. So what you can do is we can actually choose to our folders, and now first of all we could do a search for a folder. So if I'm looking for today's if I type in LRC for Lightroom course, then there you go. You'll notice there's my Lightroom course folders from previous days. And you'll notice that they're actually color coded as well. So to do that, you just simply right click on a folder, say add color label, and I've chosen purple. So I know that anything that's got the label purple is basically a Lightroom folder. If at any time you'd no longer need a folder, this folder here in Lightroom, you could delete it, or you could just remove it from within Lightroom. So if I say I don't need this any longer, I can just click on remove, and it will remove that folder from the Lightroom catalog, but of course it won't actually delete it. Okay, so the images are still on your disk. As well as color labels, we can mark a folder as a favorite. So if I click on this X, that will cancel out the filter. But one of the things that you probably wouldn't know, because it's hidden very well, is next to the search box is a tiny triangle, really tiny. And if you click on there, I can choose to sort by favorite folders or by color label. So what I was doing before, of course, was sorting by purple. There's all my Lightroom course folders. But what I could do is one of these, you'll notice it's got an asterisk on it. If I just right click on there, it says mark as a favorite, and you can mark a folder as a favorite. Obviously, to undo that, you would right click on again and say unmark favorite. Once you've got a favorite, you can do the drop down and you can say favorite folders. You can have multiple folders, and there's the folder that we're working on today. And as I showed you, you can also do a search by name. Now, talking of searches, if you want to search a folder, now none of these images at the moment I've got keywords in, so if we just look over here, none of them have got keywords in, but we do have a couple of flowers. So we have some flowers here. So if I just very quickly go and keyword, so to select my flowers, I'm clicking on the first flower, clicking on the last flower, and we come over to add keywords, and we'll just say flowers and press enter, and then click out, click on the red flowers, and all I'm doing here is control clicking. I'm just going to type red, and now there we have the red flowers. And we'll very quickly do the purple ones. This was all done in the original course, your beginner's course, so you should know how to do this. Purple, and then finally we'll just do a quick search for the white. There we go, and we've got white. So if we now want to search this folder for pictures of flowers, then we simply make sure that we clicked on the folder, we press Control or Command and F, type in the word flower in the search box, and immediately there's our flowers. But what if we only want red flowers? Put a space, type the word red, and there's our red flowers. And of course, once you're finished, you just click on the X, and that will do that. Now that is searching for images within the folder that we're currently in. But if we come to our catalog, and here at the top it says all photographs, click on that, and now we do a search. So Control or Command and F, and this time we're going to do whoops, there we go. We'll type it again in flower, and there you go, there's all the flower pictures. Leave a space, you can put a comma in if you want to, and there's all our red flower pictures. And then of course once you're finished, you can just simply click on there. But we can also search on lots and lots of other things. So we can search on attribute. So if we search on attribute, we can come over here, and this is things like 3-star images, 5-star images. So if I was looking for anything that was a 5-star image, I can come here and choose 5-star, and there you go, there's the 5-star images. Now, anybody that knows the course, I don't rate my images based on how good or bad I think they are. They're actually based on workflow. So these were basically sorted out for another course I've got coming up soon. And you can obviously search on other criteria as well. What you can also do is search on metadata. Now, this is quite good because what you can do here is you can search for images taken in a particular year. So if I choose 2020 on a particular camera, so if I sort of click here, and I'm only going to give me images on my D7200, and I can also specify a particular lens. So that is quite clever if you're trying to find images, or of course I could just go up to all dates and use different criteria, okay, to find photographs. Now at the moment, of course, this is only searching for 5-star images taken on that camera, but if I just clear that off and go down to 0, there you go, that brings me all the starred images up. So you can search on lots and lots of different attributes, and then of course you can go to none, and that will turn off the filters. Back to the grid. So once we're back here, let's just go back to our folders, and we'll go back to today's folder. So once we're in a folder, we can view in different methods. So this is the view you're very used to. This is the grid view. If I want to see a picture large, then I can double click on it and it enlarges. To make it go back to grid view, I can press the letter G. To go back to large view, I can press enter. To go back to grid view, I can press escape. And to enlarge again, I can actually press the letter E. So if you think of it as E for enlarge, then that will make your picture bigger. And of course, if you're a mousy type person, which I'm not, then you can come down here to grid view and it tells you the shortcut letter G. Or you can come over here, and it actually is called loop view, but it's called loop view and it's E. So I tend to call it enlarge because that makes more sense. Okay. While we're down here, we have what's called compare view. And if I pick on two images, click on compare view, that will show me those two images, and I can scroll through them with the arrow keys and compare different images along with that one. Okay, that's using the left and right arrow keys. Then we can come down to survey mode. Survey mode, if I would, this, sometimes you take several pictures and you're thinking, oh, I'm not sure which one I like the best. So let me just come out of this view here, select these three, and go into survey mode. Then what it'll do is bring those images up. And again, you've got the old shift tab click if you wish. And you can look through these and you go, oh, that one's a bit bright, I don't like that one. Which is the best of those two? Well, that's probably got a little bit more detail in, so I'll close that one. And just press escape to go back. And of course, shift tab to bring back your panels again. Also, while we're in panels, one thing that you do want to be doing is you want to be setting up what's called solo mode. So if you come over to any panel, remember I said you can enlarge and remove these panels, but if you come over to the left of any word in a panel, so into the dark black area, then right click, you have this option of solo mode, expand all and collapse all. Now solo mode is really useful because as you open one panel, then what it will do is it will close down the other panels. Likewise, you've also got the option here, if there's a panel that you never use, so for instance you might never use the comments panel, you can come here, you can switch off the comments and you will see that the comments panel will disappear. So likewise on the left hand side, you need to come over, you need to choose go into a black area, right click, choose solo mode. But again, if there's a panel that you never use, so maybe you never use publish services, you never publish directly, you can untick that and save yourself a little bit of space. Okay, so that pretty much covers the interface in the library module, and on the next video we will move into the develop module and we'll look at the toolbox in the develop module. Okay, thank you for your time and I'll see you in the next video.